Okay, wait, we're recording.
Here it comes. Cheers and welcome to Season Humour, the podcast that brings the cozy, warm ambience of your favourite pub right to your ears. Imagine sitting with your closest friends, sipping your preferred beer, engaging in the kind of conversations that make life richer, funnier, and infinitely more interesting. This isn't just your normal podcast. We're not just serving up laughter, we're crafting an experience that feels like pulling up a stool at your local watering hole. Our goal, you might ask? To make you laugh, reflect, and most importantly, feel like you're part of the gang. So whether you're commuting to work, unwinding after a long day, or simply seeking a bit of delightful companionship, Season Humour is your go-to podcast. Subscribe now and become part of our pub talk and general life exploration. Grab your virtual seat on our table and let's raise a glass to the art of living with a grin.
You done?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. No, you're too good. You're too kind. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. My name is Lewis Williams, and I'll be your host for today's podcast. Don't think I've forgotten my co-host. Don't think I've forgotten my co-host. Don't think I've forgotten my co-host. Peter Main, Peter Main, Peter Main, Peter Main, Peter Main. Welcome aboard.
that was about 4 minutes of an intro. That was brilliant. I like
that was my movie intro.
Did you do that? Have you been doing that all day?
Last 20 minutes.
Fair play to you. I like that one. So, well, you just logged online to set this podcast up like we normally do, and Lewis just said to me, "Just give me 1 minute," and he muted me. He went through a whole sequence of stuff, and he was. I could see him giggling to himself while he was doing it.
I was really nervous because there was about 20 buttons to push throughout that.
That was brilliant. I like it. It went a little. The intro was fantastic. It dipped down a little bit, so it was like a little bit of a fade in the sound, but I'm sure it'll come out fine on the podcast at the end.
It's a thought that counts.
It'll be all right. It sounded amazing, mate. And I tell you what, fair play to you for doing that. After
10 out of 10 for effort.
10 out of 10 for effort. 10 out of 10 for the comedy as well. Like it. Well impressed with that.
There we go. That's that out of the way.
Can I? You're going to give me that every week now after you did introduce me last week, couldn't you? It's,
maybe. I wanted to make it like catch up from last week.
Yes, I like it. Can I just say, people can't see this, but you've got the coolest yellow T-shirt on I've ever seen in my life. I really like it.
It's only a Nike one.
Yeah, but I really like it. I like the colour. You look really summery.
Yeah. Well, you know by now I like yellow.
Yeah, we know you like the yellow, but that is just a really cool T-shirt.
Oh, thanks, mate.
I like it. I like it a lot.
It means a lot.
I want to. I'm in my pajama top tonight. This is like one of my pajama tops. It's too small for me. So
I thought that was part of your Super Ted memorabilia.
Oh, mate, do you know what? Right, first of all, guys, we're apologies. This podcast is coming out a bit later than usual. It's been a bit of a hectic week. We tried to do something on Wednesday to get it out for Thursday like we normally do, but unfortunately, my son decided he wanted to go bowling, and I ended up doing the biggest commute in my life to go get him, his mates, and then drive them all back. And I was like a proper dad taxi this week. And it really, really frustrated me. And it was only till I found out a bit later. Sorry, mate. It was only till I found out a bit later on. The woman of one of the mums who took the boys to bowling asked everybody for petrol money. And then, so we gave them petrol money to take the boys to bowling. So £5. They wanted a £5 from every boy. There was 3 boys. There's 15 quid's worth of petrol money. I then went and picked them up. No one gave me petrol money. And
the worst thing is they had an electric car.
But the worst thing about it is the woman who picked up, who wanted the petrol money, their son lived about 20 miles away from everybody else. So I ended up driving him further. Oh, man, I was absolutely
scandalous.
Fuming. By the time I got home, obviously, Wednesday night, it was too late. We kind of planned to do it, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So, and then I spent the last the last night at my mum and dad's, so we couldn't do our normal recording session, and it's been a bit of a hectic week, to be honest with you.
This is just the crazy lifestyle we're leading.
It is a crazy lifestyle, mate. Do you know? Can I ask you a question? When you do annual leave for work, do you feel like you actually have annual leave and you go back rested?
No.
To work.
I think we chatted about this the other day. No, not at all. I feel horrible.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it, didn't we? I think we touched on it. This week, obviously, we had the bank holiday Monday. Do you know what? Saturday, Sunday, Monday felt like a really nice break this week. And then, unfortunately for me, I forgot to book Tuesday off. I forgot it was a bank holiday. And then I booked off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I had to go back to work for one day. No. I had to go back to work for one day. And then obviously I had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. Wednesday had a fairly chilled morning. Key was off. We did a few bits and pieces, didn't do too much. Sat about, played computer, did a few little bits like that. Then had to do the hell of a journey with my son in the evening. Didn't get home till late, and then got up early to go to mum and dad's in Brighton yesterday. Had a great time down there. Got a few stories about my granddad that I want to discuss with you. He gave me a few little stories that made me giggle, so I want to discuss them. But other than that, it's been a mad week, and with the annual leave, and I just thought today it took me what 4 hours, 4.5 hours to get home.
From Bowling?
No, from Brighton, from Brighton where my mum and dad live. That usually takes me 2 hours 50 minutes.
Oh no!
So I was a bit frustrated, a bit fed up. I had a nice nap though when I came home. Kay went to me, "Go and have a lay down. It's all right. You're fine." So I'm feeling.
Did you listen to a bit Meatloaf album back to back? That's like the longest album ever, isn't it? I think like Bat Out of Hell's like 25 minutes long for one song.
It's brilliant. Do you know what? I got a really good story about Meatloaf. You've just triggered something for Meatloaf. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't really. I remember when Bat Out of Hell came. Not Bat Out of Hell. I Would Do Anything for Love came out.
Yeah. How old were you then?
What was it?
I vaguely remember.
I don't know what year. 93, 94 maybe it came out. Did it? 94?
Was it the same year as E17 when they did Stay Another Day?
It was around that time, yeah.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. My mum and dad bought me the Meatloaf album for Christmas. So that one with I Would Do Anything for Love on. And there was a couple of rock songs in there that I really liked. Then they bought me a classic rock album. And on that classic rock album had Bat Out of Hell on it. And so I used to dance around in my bedroom as a little 10-year-old boy. Think it was brilliant. Then I'd be stark bullet naked, 10 years old.
You sure you want to put this on the internet?
And I would be doing like the chopper with my
the helicopter.
Yeah, the helicopter. I just triggered a really funny memory. I remember it like it's yesterday. Maybe I still do it. That's the problem.
Yeah, just before work.
Oh dear, yeah, but no, we listened to a few things. I was driving back, and do you know, I really get frustrated with traffic, and I really get frustrated with the way people drive. And there's always one person that they'll be driving in front of you, and they slam on their brakes for no reason. And you look in front of them, and there's nothing there. And I just get really annoyed with it, and I try not to lose my temper. And the kids sort of look at me and say, "What's up with you?" I was under my breath. I'm like shaking with anger. It's but the traffic today, the weather's been really weird. Have you had the weather?
What do you mean? Like, because people don't abide by like the road etiquette sort of thing?
The speed limit. So do you know the people that really annoy me? The people that drive 80, 90 mile an hour, and then they slam the brakes on back to 70.
Clarkson said that best. He said, "Why'd you brake on the motorway for? You just said get off the gas."
Yeah, exactly that. And that's what they do. And then they brake, and it causes you to brake, and then the people behind you to brake, and then the people behind you to brake, and it causes a whole.
Do you know what I feel sorry for in that situation? The lorry drivers.
Yeah, 100%.
There's always someone in a Nissan Micra slams their brakes on in front of a 40-ton juggernaut.
Oh, it's ridiculous, mate. Honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's so.
You need to come to Wales, because in Wales, 20 is plenty, is the new phrase.
Well, have you had this mad weather today? So the mad, like, it rained, it stopped, it rained, it stopped, it rained, it stopped. Have you had that weather today, or has it been? What's the weather been like with you today?
It always rains in Wales.
So coming home from woke up this morning at mum and dad's. It's absolutely tipping down with rain. We leave, it stops raining. Get halfway down the road, it starts raining again. But because you're on a motorway, visibility just absolutely terrible. Like, you know when it rains, all the spray comes up, and you can start seeing people getting slower and slower and slower and slower and slower. And that's great. I think it obviously being safe, and you've got to be safe and stuff. And obviously I've got the kids in the car, so the last thing I want to do is have an accident. So I take it quite easy. But just generally, the way people start to drive, there's no consistency with it, and it's more dangerous because of the inconsistency of people's driving than if people were just to drive at 50 mile an hour, say, and stick to that 50 mile an hour, then speed up and then go, oh crap, it started raining, and then slam the brakes on and slow down again. There's a real balance. Anyway,
do you ever have times though where, like, you just said, because you got the kids in the car, so you're sensible and you're your dad, so you're going to do things the right way. But do you ever have those things like in your head, you're doing something completely different to what you are doing in real life? Because in my head, like when that happens and it's raining really badly and you're driving sensibly and you're kind of indicating the rest of it, but there's that little bit of me that, like, in my head, I've like opened up the glove box, put my driving gloves on, put a baseball hat on, I've turned the radio up and it's driving in the fast lanes come on.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing like 120 all the way. Aquaplaning everywhere.
I thought about that. I was we was driving back, and one of the Fleetwood Mac song come on, and I put my Josh was sitting in the front, and he's sitting there on his phone, ignoring the world, and like looks tired because we've got him up early at my mum and dad's, because I wanted to leave a bit earlier to get away because it's Friday, it's the end of the school holidays, I want to get back home. And he's sitting there on his phone, and then the Fleetwood Mac song come on with that Formula One tune at the end of it. They go nil, 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 and automatically in my head, there's a trigger in my head thinking, time to drive 400 mile an hour, let's go. Like, yeah, obviously I didn't. It was tipping down rain, but it come on, and I just automatically thought, I'm a racing driver. Let's do this.
You know that guy I told you about who drove the Formula One car?
Yeah.
He gave me a massive bollocking because I got all the info wrong. He said you were right about the track in the car it was.
Yeah.
And he was telling me like how crazy it is to drive a Formula One car.
Yeah.
And I think he said he got up to 220, I think, on the one straight, and he said it's insane.
Yeah.
But he said it's like, he said anyone who says F1 is not a sport, he said is lying, because he said it's so light. He said like you literally have to turn the wheel like a smidge and like you're moving on the track sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he said when you brake, it's something like 80 pounds of pressure when you're at like a certain speed to try and push the brake down to stop. Yeah. And yeah, it was a really cool story. He's
mate, it's I'm still super jealous of your mate. But that's another story. It is crazy. You watch him on TV, and as you said, people that say it's not a sport, and this is not going to get into that sort of thing, but there was a thing that about Formula One drivers, and they can lose like 2 or 3 kilos of weight during a race. I mean, that
I've heard that, yeah.
That is just
mad, isn't it?
Insane. That's just sweat and everything, isn't it, coming out of their bodies and liquids and all that. That's just absolutely unreal. Just the amount.
He said there was no there's no clutch either.
No, they have a clutch on the wheel, don't they? Of like a electronic. There's electronic clutch or something like that. Probably a bit different on the car he drove to the ones that they drive in the in nowadays. It's a little bit different.
I do think all the new Formula One cars are like, how much is a Formula One car?
Then they're like £100 million or something like that.
It's like a telephone number, isn't it? And you've got like you've got the F1 wheel for your simulator, haven't you? Like that style.
Yeah.
And there's like buttons all over it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Where's the radio?
On the wheel, like there's in the turn the radio on to listen to Fleetwood Mac or something like that. Or
Yeah, you wouldn't want to play. You can go your own way, would you? On an F1 track,
go your own way.
that ain't bad.
Oh, mate. Anyway, look, I said I got a few things I want to say about my granddad. Do you know what? My granddad, 97 years old. I think I said it before. He looks so well for his age, and my mum and dad do a sterling job at looking after him. And I want to. The fact that do you know when you're born as a baby, and your parents do everything for you as a baby. So and then as you get older, you sort of flee the nest, but then you come back. And my granddad's obviously come back to my mum and dad. Now my mum and dad do everything for my granddad, and he looks so well. He doesn't seem like he ages, but he's just got a little bit more fragile. He's a bit more weaker and he's not as strong as what he was, and it takes him a lot to get up. But as I said, we was at my mum and dad's on the weekend, and we was yesterday, and we was having a sit there. We were sitting talking, having a drink, and my granddad, he's quite he's funny. Kay said to me, I think he sits there, pretends to go asleep, but he's actually listening to the conversation around him. That's what she said to me, and I actually today want to clarify that's exactly what I think he does after the weekend, last night. So we're sitting there talking, and he slowly looks like he's falling back in his chair, and he's sliding down his chair, and he closes his eyes, but he's like hands are moving or whatever, and then all of a sudden you'll be talking away, and he wakes and he opens his eyes, and he looks at you and he winks. As if to say, I heard all that. And I said to Key, 100% he's listening to the conversation. My dad said in the past year, he's had new hearing aids. He's had his eyes done. He's got near perfect vision again since he's had his cataracts done. And he's had his new hearing aids done. And now he can hear, my dad said he can hear a lot more. So
maybe he's a spy.
I think, maybe he is. He's a Russian spy. Well, we're sitting there watching the TV, and my mum and dad, we come back from Brighton, the day in Brighton, which was an absolute washout. We was all wet. My mum said, let's just sit down, have a little chat, have a drink. The kids were sort of messing around with my dad. We were sitting there watching a program on TV. We watched a program on Amazon Prime, the Peter Crouch
brilliant
documentary.
Yeah,
You've seen it. So we watched that. My granddad didn't say too much throughout it. He was watching it the whole time. We're sitting there. My mum said, we're going to order Chinese for dinner because my daughter wanted Chinese. So we said, we're going to order Chinese. I said, yeah, brilliant. Sitting at the table, my granddad has his shepherd's pie. My mum said he eats shepherd's pie.
Oh, from the Chinese?
No. Yeah. Can I have a shepherd's pie? You want shepherd's pie?
Can I take your order? Yeah, I'll have one shepherd's pie.
Gets his shepherd's pie. We're all sitting at the table eating dinner. Anyway, I'm sitting next to him. So he's sitting to my left, and he goes to me, you didn't tell me you become a footballer, Peter. And I'm thinking, I went, huh? He went, we just watched the documentary on you. And I was like, what? I went, no, that weren't me, Grandad. That was Peter Crouch. He went, no, that was you. And he's confused now because he thinks that's me on the TV. He thinks that, and I said, well, first of all, I'm not 6'7" like Peter Crouch is. Second of all, I said, the woman doesn't look nothing like Keeley, but he was adamant that he was just watching me, and I went, you think with this figure I used to play football, Grandad? And he laughed, and he went, you are a bit fat. I was like, honesty
comes of age.
I was like,
what you should do though, if he says that again, you should just say, look, I didn't want to brag before, but it is me, and just play along with it.
Well, he then moved on to talking about when he used to take me up the park to play football when I was a kid. So he used to and in fairness, he did. He used to take me up to the park as a kid, and he said, and he used to go to me, right, you can't use your right foot, you've got to use your left foot. So he'd always make me use my left foot. He'd never ever let me use my right foot. So he trained me to use my left foot. So when I play football, I was a two-footed player. I could always use my left foot as well as my right foot. And he said, and he trained, and he said to me, and he remembered it, and he said, "Excuse me, sorry, yeah, San Miguel is repeating."
He wanted the credit for it, did he?
And he wanted the credit for it. Oh, but you gotta love him. And then, I could talk about him all night because he's an absolute legend. And I say, at 97 years old, he's led a fantastic life. He mentioned my nan thing again. We kind of rubbed that off straight away and said we're not talking about that. My dad was like, no, we're not talking about that. And he said to me, then it's like he forgot that we'd had the conversation about football, and then he talked about football again and said to me about being a football player again. And I said, I'm not a football player, Grandad. I didn't become a football player. And he said, and he went to me, did I ever tell you about the story that I had tryouts at Millwall? And I was like, no. I said, he didn't tell me about that. And I'm thinking, wow, he's had tryouts at Millwall. My mum's sitting there going, no, he hasn't. He didn't. My mum's sitting there waving her head going, no, he's not had tryouts. And he goes, yeah, I was just come out of school. I was 14 years old, and I went down to the Millwall training ground, and they gave me a tryout. They wouldn't take me because I was joining the army. My mum turned around to him and went, you didn't join the army when you was 14. He was like, I was definitely 14 or definitely 15, like 16. No, maybe I was 17. And he's like rattling off all these ages.
Oh, I love him.
And I absolutely, honestly, he's absolutely brilliant. And one more thing, and then I'll change the subject altogether. We're sitting there. My mum said to me, "Come, let's play some games." So the kids we played this a couple of board games. We played this. Then we started playing dominoes. While we're playing dominoes, it's about 9 o'clock at night. Mum said, "Do you mind if we put some music on?" I said, "No, do whatever you want." And the kids were like, "No, do whatever you want, Nan. It's fine." So you put on the BBC prom, BBC at the prom or something like that. I think it is. So you put that on. We watched, and it was like northern funk or northern soul music, northern soul or something like that. It was, and I think it was northern soul, and it's all music from the 60s and 60s, and obviously being BBC at the prom, it's the band, it's the.
Please tell me you stood up and did the splits.
No, really. Well, I wish he did. I really wish he did, and I think 10 years ago he probably would have done. But he was sitting there and he's tapping away on watching the song, and he's tapping away on his legs, and you could see him really enjoying himself, like listening to the music, and he starts like jiggling in his chair like he was, and then all of a sudden he turns around and goes, "Oh, look at her," and I was like, and I looked at him and I was like, my dad went, "He loves a big woman, you know that." And I was like, my God. He said, my dad, when he does it all the time, we're watching TV, and all of a sudden he goes, "Cool, look at her." He just gets this rush of
urge.
Yeah. And I just said, that's brilliant. It absolutely.
He might just fancy his chances, doesn't he? After like he's got new teeth and new eyes and new hearing, he's a born again man, isn't he? 97's a good age, mind.
What a legend, honestly. He just makes me smile. I come away from there and I think, do you know what? I said to him before I left, he does what he always does. He called my mum in and said, "Yvonne, come here." And my mum goes into him and he goes, "I can't find me money." And my mum goes, "You had it a minute ago." And he goes, "I can't find it." He's got a few notes and he's got £20 notes, and he goes, I've got like 5 of them, and I've got 4 of them, and I've got 2 of them, like all different, all £20, £10 notes. And he goes, I had like basically he had 140 quid's worth of £20 notes, and he wants to give it to us for the kids and all that. And he goes to my mum, and my mum goes, "What'd you do with it?" He goes, "I don't know." My dad went, "Check his top pocket." He goes to bed in his pajamas with the money in his top pocket.
Why do old people put money in books?
I don't know.
Well, they hide it everywhere, don't they?
Yeah. Well, he was a nightmare. I think I told you before about about him hiding his money everywhere. He's an absolute nightmare for it.
Hey, you need to go there next weekend.
Yeah, just go there every week. Just get a bit of money every week. And
Yeah.
but yeah, so it put a smile on my face. Obviously, after a bit of I'll text you about my rubbish day, so I don't really want to talk about that on the podcast. If I'm honest about the crap that went on at work with me the tax man. Oh, the tax man.
Yeah, everyone has that, don't they? Everyone has like my week. I've had an all right week, and then yesterday I was like, I had a bit of an achy foot, and then I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning. I get up, and it's like literally like I've just been like shot by someone with an arrow in my foot, and I got was it tendonitis?
Oh man,
mate, it's not the one. Well, I went to work and I work with this guy called Paul, and he's like such a nice guy. And he goes, "Oh mate, I'm gonna go to Asda and I'm gonna get you some of that freeze gel."
Yep.
Well, I took 3 codeine tablets, probably a bad idea. Put some of that on it. I was like a new man.
Are you on codeine now?
Well, no, 11 this morning. It's worn off by now.
So you're not on it now. You're not high on codeine right now as we're talking.
Well, codeine's just a painkiller, though,
No,
right?
it is, yeah. I think it is. Yeah, I think if you take an extreme amount of it, it can be a bit make you feel a bit drowsy, can't it?
Well, if I'd known that before, I would have had some more.
You can't drink beer, so I'm going to just chuck loads of codeine down.
No, I didn't go on the beer because I thought every time when you're ill or you got like aches or pains, like it just makes it worse, doesn't it? And I've had such a run of it lately. I thought, oh, do you know what? I'm going to drink some water. But I got like children's water. It's like in a little bottle, so it goes like really quick. I don't know if it's in my house. If I want to eat something, I open my cupboard up and there's like, you know, like Lucky Charms or like, you know, all the kids' treats and all the kids.
Oh, mate, that's the problem with this. But the problem with the world. I said this to Key the other day. I said, like, we must spend about 70 quid a week on kids' treats, like Lucky Ice Gems and chocolate fingers and what's them ring biscuits, the little ring type biscuits.
Oh, the party ring
biscuits and Rocky bars,
for special occasions.
Mars bars, and oh no, you go in my cupboard. Come around here. There is
a
everything.
Regular occurrence.
It's a regular occurrence.
This is how the means of living.
And I wonder why I'm putting
party rings in a weekday.
Put on. Yeah. You're right though. You used to go to parties when you was a kid, and you'd never see party rings until you went to a party. And there'd be a plate of party rings on the table, wouldn't there?
And another bowl of Watsits. But then that's not how Pete's living. You're like 10 San Miguel's, a box of party rings, and a pack of quavers a night. Living like a king.
And that's why I'm nearly 16 stone or 17 stone or whatever it is I'm now. God knows, it's ridiculous.
I weighed. I was 19 stone, right? And I've been keeping a track of it. And they went like 19 stone, 18, 13, 18, 12, 18, 11, 18, 10. It was going down to 18, 9. And then the next day, it was back up to 19. I didn't do anything different. I think someone's just playing a game with me.
Oh, it's the worst. Honestly, it's the worst. It's the worst.
I'm like checking my pockets to see if I got any like weights in there or something.
2 kilo weight stuck in your pocket or something like that. Did you take any money out the day before, like a bit earlier in the day, and you had a wad of cash in your pocket? Or something like that?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Just a jar full of 2p coins.
Oh mate. Do you can I ask you a question? Do you sleep talk, or does anyone in your
Yeah.
Is there anything you've ever said in your sleep, and Amy said to you next morning, like, what was you dreaming about? Like you shouted out something or whatever?
I don't think so. She just talk about all sorts of nonsense when I'm sleeping. I don't think there's anything specific she's like said. The only time anything bad really happened when I was sleeping that involved my lovely, beautiful wife was, I think I went out, got absolutely hammered. I got dropped off at the front door. My 2 mates just checked me at the front door out of the taxi, rang the doorbell, and then she came down to answer. And I was like sick, and I was like a mess, and I was knocking stuff over, and she was like really annoyed. And then I think I had like 80 quid in my wallet or something. And then like 2 years later, we're out with people, and like the story came up, and like, oh, I remember when I came back and I was like wrecked, and I like knocked your favorite lamp over and slept on the kitchen floor. And she went, oh yeah, you think you're funny? She said, I nicked 80 quid out your wallet.
Brilliant.
I felt like I've been abused.
Like Rob, she just went. She probably
got robbed.
She went in your pocket, took the wallet out of your pocket, opened it, took the 80 quid and just fling the wallet at you on the floor when you drunk.
Yeah, that's what happens.
The reason I asked is I was obviously my mum and dad live in a 2-bed bungalow. So my granddad's got his bedroom, my mum and dad got their room. So it's really hard to go and stay around there. It's really difficult. And obviously we went down here yesterday. Unfortunately, Key had to stay at home. So my mum said, oh, look, I've got a couple of little beds and one you can sleep on the sofa. So he was like, okay, fine. So Josh went, I'll sleep on the sofa. I was like, well, hold on a second. Like, I want to sleep on the sofa. No, I'm sleeping on the sofa. So I let him pull rank over me. I thought, sorry, you sleep on the sofa. These little beds look quite comfortable. They're like little fold-out beds, which they really were, actually. In the middle of the night.
You ever want to go bowling again, you go on the fold-out bed.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Anyway, we go to bed, and my mum and dad, we all went to bed by about 11, something like that. About 11 o'clock, half 11. We all went to bed. We're sound asleep. Everyone goes to sleep. This is sound asleep next to me in her little single fold out bed. Josh is on the sofa watching his phone. Anyway, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear, I can't see, like a big shout, and I'm like, it startled me, obviously, as you can imagine. I thought, was that Josh? And I was like, and he went, and he did it again. He went, I can't see. I was like, Josh, you all right? I thought, because he wears glasses, Josh, he's trying to get up to go to the toilet or something. Bearing in mind he's 15. So, he went, and he was like, no. He went, I can't see the menu. He shouted.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what do you mean you can't see the menu? I'm like, but I'm trying to be quiet because obviously Liz is sound asleep next to me. And he went, oh, don't worry. And just rolled over and went back to sleep like nothing had ever happened.
Jensen does stuff like that.
And I said to him this morning, I went, Josh, did you, what was up? What was up with you? You all right? And he went, did you, what was you dreaming about last night? He went, I don't know. He just went, I don't know, like really sort of.
That's mad, isn't it?
But Kay said I do it quite a lot. She said, like, I will lay there at night and I shout random things in the middle of the night and say really random things.
The worst one I had, I think, because I used to live opposite a pub.
Yeah.
And I was in there all the time. It was really bad because it's just so expensive. Because you used to give your card over and used to give you like a little tab thing. And then you just like walk around waving your arms everywhere, buying drinks.
Yeah.
And then I remember one night I went home. And then I had like whacking on the back because Amy was in bed asleep. I got up. I just walked to the corner of the bedroom, pulled my pants down and started peeing. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I told my mate Dave that and he's like, mate, I've done the same thing.
I think there's a few people that have done that in the past. I've spoken to a few people in the past that have done things like that. That's just one of them things, and it's absolutely. I think when you have so much to drink, we spoke about drink a lot, like on this podcast. But you have so much, and then you get to a point, don't you? You become out of control. You'll be fine. You could be drinking beers for 4, 5, 6 hours, and you'll be fine. Then all of a sudden, it's like you stop drinking beers, and that's when everything starts to go wrong. It's that, and you can drink all the time, and then all of a sudden you might stop, and that little stop, that's it. That's when things go wrong. It's a nightmare.
That's when the trolley's going down the hill, and you can't stop.
It is. It absolutely is. It's ridiculous.
We need to get some beer sponsorship. That's what we need.
We could do, couldn't we? We could do some beer sponsorship.
And then we can like film it instead of just record, and then we can just like ching pint glasses and swill.
Ching.
Yeah, we like massive steins going. We drink beer. We call it. We just rename it the beer podcast.
Beer podcast. That's a bit boring, isn't it? Like when you have things like you want we'd want it to be called something like not October. Like October. How did Oktoberfest become like massive all of a sudden? Like this big commercial.
Is that just Germany?
Well, it was a German thing. It was a German thing, wasn't it? Germany's like do Oktoberfest. I don't know the history of it. Maybe someone can tell us what the history of it is. The reason Oktoberfest is what it is. But Oktoberfest wasn't a thing in the UK. Now every October, pretty much every town has an Oktoberfest.
Well, that's like Christmas and Easter. It's just a reason to have like stuff for sale in shops, isn't it?
But you're not going to be.
You reckon?
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I do agree. Because you can have like a beer fest, October beer fest. You buy the big German wiener sausage or whatever they call it.
Oh, currywurst. Lederhausen.
But then why do you need to dress up in them old like Lindy Hop style clothes?
Lederhausens.
Yeah. Why do you need to dress up in them?
Because it's just that much more fun.
I've shown a bit of age here. Or maybe I'm a bit boring, and it's a bit.
Have you seen? Because obviously Harry Kane's gone to Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Have you seen the picture of him? There's like an advert for like Bayern Munich, and they got like advertising like a new top or something, and they're wearing the Lederhosen and shorts.
Yes, I've seen
the
the picture.
Funniest picture ever. I'm just thinking like. Do you remember like Jeremy Beadle?
Yeah, go on.
I just had. He must have been stood there going, "Where's Beadle?" Because it's just they were bad, weren't they? I don't know. They're not bad. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them, and I love Harry Kane. I think he's awesome. But I just thought I didn't wake up that day thinking I'm going to see Harry Kane in Lederhausens.
Didn't they do that a few like last year or the year before? They had them all dressed.
Oh, they may. I haven't paid attention before.
Didn't they do that? Didn't they? I mean, look, I'm not disrespecting the culture. I think it's a great culture. If that's, I'd like to understand the culture and why they do it a little bit more. Let's
go.
It's just well, I know brother-in-law Taz has been out there a few times, and he has told me some really messy stories, which I'm not going to air on the podcast. For
Germany's amazing. I've been to Germany a couple of times. It is amazing. I went to this one sports bar in Berlin, I think it was Berlin, and you sit down there and they've got screens everywhere, and then the taps are in front of you, and like when you drink from a stein, like people go out there when they first start and they just drink normally. You can't do that because the stein's like a pint and a half, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you start smashing them into you, and all of a sudden you're like 7 pints deep in like however long. Real bad idea. But with this bar, you poured your own pint at the table, and it measured you on literage. So you can imagine that if you're just over with a bunch of lads and you're like, oh, look, I just poured another pint. You're all in competition, aren't you? And you're all just pouring.
Do you know what? You've just come up with an absolute fantastic idea for a restaurant. We should open a restaurant in the UK. And
called Lederhausens. And every single table has a tap on it. That tap. That's what this was.
Yeah, that beer tap is, like you said, is monitored by us. And that would be an absolute. Just pour your own pints at the table, and people would imagine the restaurant, how much money you would make.
The other funny one, I think it was the same night we went to some club, and there was girls going around. Dressed all like quite nice to like entice like young lads to go and like say hello, but they had like breathalyzers on them. So like you breathalyze yourself and then you go like, oh, I'm like 10 pissed, and then your mate would do and go, oh look, I'm 11 pissed, and then like it was just all a competition, and they're like, just give us your Urios and we'll take. So that's 5 Urios, that's 10 Urios, and then all of a sudden there's no Urios and you haven't got any more money for beer.
Oh,
and you're like scraping over to the kebab place to go and get your. And the kebab, they had this kebab, and it was like instead of having like an open kebab, it was like a ball of dough, and the kebab was inside. It was awesome.
Oh, that's all I'm thinking about now is opening a bar with beer taps on every table, and then you have to put your to use the beard tap, you have to put your credit card behind the bar, and then
That was it.
so you can use the beard tap as much as you like, but you have to put your credit card behind the bar, and then you only get your credit card back once you paid the bill.
That was I think that was the best sports bar I've been to.
What an idea, mate! This is
What an idea.
We need to pitch this like in like imagine in the center of London, a massive bar like in the center of London with just beer taps on it. That would just be chaos. People would be fighting.
You call it competition.
Well, you could go anything like that. You could go anything. And
you want to have like different rooms. You have like the beginner room
with axe throwing in as part of the table. No,
just like in the beginner room, intermediate, and then like
professional
hardcore lounge, and that could be like 3%, 5%, 8% or something.
You can start off with a lower percentage table if you want.
Like you're not even allowed crisps in the hardcore tent.
Or peanuts.
Yeah, no peanuts.
No food.
Just straight drinking.
Just straight drinking. What an idea.
And you're not allowed in there unless you've grown a moustache.
You know what? Well,
Only men are allowed.
I was having this conversation with my dad yesterday about my dad. I turned up to my mum and dad's, and my dad's got a bit of a scruffy beard at the minute. And I said to him, like, what's going on? And I said, you don't usually not shave. He went, my dad's got no hair on. He's bald, my dad. And he turned around and he went, well, I've booked myself in to go to the Turkish barbers on Monday, so I wanted to get my money's worth. So what's he do
when he goes in? He just like razor it today.
So he's having it, like, obviously it's a bit of hair around the sides and around the back, but he always is it real shave, so it's real like number one around the back and sides. And he's obviously got this bit of beard like we've got now. And he excuse me, it's so gassy, this beer tonight. And and he's obviously got a bit of a scruffy beard, so he just said, well, I booked myself into Turkish, so I've got to like, 'cause he's going on holiday on Tuesday, so he wanted to have a Turkish shave and that before he went on holiday. Bless him. But yeah, he's
Have you ever been to one of those places like the Turkish barber, like to have that?
When we used to live in Essex, we used to go to Turkish barber regularly, and
with a beard.
Sorry,
did you have a beard then?
Like similar to what I've not really a beard like what I've got now, a bit of stubble and stuff like that, and I'd get a shave every now and again.
Because I know I shaved. This is the first time I've shaved in like a year, but like normally I got like a bit of a beard.
Yeah.
I remember going to one of those places. And I was like, they went, do you want your beard trimmed? And I was like, yeah, sounds good. Thinking that they're just going to trim it. And then they like, shaped it all up. So it was all like pitch perfect. And it was like they did it with a ruler. And I walked down. That's just not the look I was going for.
Did you look like a Stavros?
I looked like I'd been like attacked by the Lego people.
Yeah.
Everything was straight.
Got their laser out, got the laser level out, and straightened it all up. That's why I stopped going to the Turkish barbers, because they used to cut your hair. They cut your hair, and there's a lot of people out. The Turkish barbers have become a massive thing, haven't they? And I think they're really good, and they're really quick, and they do a really good job usually. They turn people around really quickly. You come out with the same haircut as the bloke next to you, because they can only do generally one cut, and that is do the sides of your hair. They do like a number 1 or a number whatever 0 back and sides, and you end up having like this really high hairline. So you sort of got no like number 1 back and sides, and then you got like the long bit on top up here. It's really high above.
That's the skin fade, isn't it? That's the down thing now. If you haven't got a skin fade, you're not cool. Not to say I got a skin fade because I'm not cool, but like apparently that is the thing.
But that is why I stopped going, because I like to have my a little bit more faded in from the top to the bottom and a bit longer on top, and they used to shave it really tight, and then they keep it long on top, but it'd be up here, and I look ridiculous. I look like something out of Lego, like you say.
Part of me wants to go in with like one of those black and white photos from like the 80s sort of old school and say, can you make it look like that?
I would love to. I would look talking about hair. I'd love to grow a mullet. I would love to grow a mullet, but
why a mullet?
I just think it would be just hilarious to walk about with a mullet. But one, I'm a 40-year-old man, and growing a mullet probably is not the right thing to do. Two, it's just probably I'd probably look like something that I don't really want to discuss on the podcast, but people would probably.
American, like it's American here, like mullet, like hillbilly kind of looking.
I think it's an amazing haircut. I look at it and I think, what an amazing haircut.
It's definitely come back because there are people rocking it.
Some people can rock it really well as well. Look, like Valtteri Bottas in Formula One, he rocks a mullet. Now
we're getting to it. Now we're getting down to it. It's because of the F1.
No, it's not because of him. It's not because of him at all.
It's because of the F1.
Because I don't follow him.
You want to sit there in your simulator with your mullet, and you want to tell it, and you want to film it, and you want to rock a mullet. Just say it. Get out there.
I would love to rock a mullet. I'll
grow a moustache and wear lederhosens. You grow your mullet.
It'd be hilarious. I'd love to walk around the street with a mullet and people looking and say, "What the hell is this guy got a mullet for?" I think.
Why didn't you just wear one of those wigs?
Chrissy Waddle.
Don't disrespect guy.
The old Chrissy Waddle. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Glenn Hoddle. Chrissy Waddle and Glenn Hoddle mullets. Absolutely fantastic. What a piece of what a piece of football history they were with their mullets, and the Germans with the mullets. Some of the Germans had some quality mullets, didn't they? Absolute quality mullets.
They have.
Yeah, they have big time. Did you see the news this week? Did you see do you know I tend to look at funny stories on the news and what's going on in the world. And I get every now and again I get an odd funny thing come up on my phone. There was a guy in America had a bull as a passenger in his car. Did you see that?
A bull?
A bull, like a fully grown bull. I'll send you the thing after this, and maybe you can post it.
What's a bull?
Like a big cow. A bull.
Oh, a bull.
A bull.
Bull.
Did you see it? Did you not see
in his car? What car did he have?
It was just what it looked like. It just looked like an old crappy Honda.
What websites you got on? You got a guy who's got 25 5-meter snakes in his pocket, and a guy driving down the road with a bull on his passenger seat.
Look, you don't believe me? I'll send you it after this, and you can put it. I just thought to myself, why would it looks like the car's been converted.
I need a photo for Twitter.
The car's been converted for the bull to sit in the passenger seat. First of all,
what car was it? It's a Honda, you say?
It was like a Honda.
Honda Jazz.
No, it's a Ford. It's a Ford. I've got it on my screen now, right? It's a Ford. It's like an old American. Do you know the American police cars, the Ford police cars that they have? I'll send it to you afterwards. I'll send you the link.
Oh, the Rangers or something?
Something like that, yeah. There's like a Ford Ranger. And the bloke's going down the road with in Nebraska, it is. In Nebraska with a huge bull in the passenger seat.
Why?
Well, why not? Why you want to take your dog out for a ride? I'm going to take my ball. I'm going to take my ball out for a ride. And the geezer is rocking a mullet.
Did you see that thing with Trump? He got arrested, didn't he? And he sold mugs of his mug shot, and he made something like
I've seen that.
Yeah, he sold, like his campaign sold this mug, and they made like 5 million. It was either in a day or a week from selling this mug.
Oh man, that's unreal.
He gets so many views, that guy.
Do you know what? I admire the bloke. Like, he's a nutter, but he does everything. He does everything right. He's so controversial that he does it because it gets him like reactions, and that's maybe just being controversial.
They just do everything bigger and better, don't they? That's what they like.
Being controversial is the way to go in life, and you being controversial, you make more money, didn't you? And you look at YouTube channels, and you look at TikToks and Reels and Shorts. Controversial ones always get millions of reactions, and so why would you not want to do it?
Yeah, everyone just wants to sort of argue, don't they? That's all it is.
As we said last week, it's easier to be negative and disagree with something than it is to be positive and put a positive spin on it. And that's all it boils down to at the end of the day. But honestly, just going back to it, I see this story come up and I thought I've got to tell you about it. It's something for you to look at and see. We'll post it on the Twitter.
To see this.
We'll post it on the Twitter because it is just an absolute. The blokes. Look, you might drive down.
How did you get it out the car?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't watch the whole video. I just watched this video and I was like, this is unreal. It blows my mind. It's just got to be talked about. I've got to tell you about it. It's a few minutes to kill on the podcast.
I just got so many things going through my head with that. But how would you change gear?
Well, it looks like the car's been modified. Honestly, it looks like the car's been modified. It looks like it's got It looks like he's cut half the car away. He's got the shoot. The mad thing about it, he's got.
Hang on a minute.
He's got.
So it's not a car. It's just a seat. It's a seat with a stable. It's a stable attached to it.
Let me send you it, and you can share it and make your own mind up. People can have a look at it. The funny thing about it, the ball is huge, right? There's no two ways about it. This ball is about 6 human beings in size. It's massive. It's got horns the size. Well, one horn looks like the size of my leg. It's huge, and then the best thing about it, the bloke's
maybe he's on his way to the airport to meet the guy with the snakes.
Maybe. Oh mate, it's just sorry. I had to tell you.
Maybe that should be your thing. Is finding people who transport animals. Well, that sounds bad, but find people who transport animals in a weird way. That sounds even worse. I don't know where I'm going with that.
I think on that note,
animal transportation.
He said, I think on that note, we should wrap the podcast up. And have you got an outro for us?
I haven't, but you didn't really say podcast that much this week, did you?
Podcast?
Yeah.
No, I probably didn't. I've had a few to drink tonight.
Let's get ready for how many times can you say podcast competition? I think 1 week you said podcast like 5 or 6 times, but you haven't done it since, so it kind of really spoiled my joke.
Apologies for that. Well,
that backfired on me, didn't it?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. Listening, guys. We appreciate you guys for listening to the podcast. We'll try not to miss another Thursday, and we'll get a few bankers in. That's what we've got a plan to do. And if we have a week like we had this week, we ain't got to rush around to get a podcast out. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the listen.
There's no outro as such, but if you want to hear some more about animal transportation next week, or best routes to take children to bowling alleys, then tune in.
Thanks very much for listening, guys. We'll see you, or we'll see you in the